start the meeting. We're gonna make this one quick. Okay, pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. Okay. I'm sitting in for Art, so bear with me. He's my mentor. First thing on the agenda would be to look at the minutes for September. I went through those. I didn't see anything that was, we did a lot of talking about the case we're looking at tonight. Basically, the minutes are very, very specific. Does anybody have any questions on it? Mike? Can I make motion that the minutes from last month be accepted? Okay, that was quick. All right, so we're down to tonight. We have a continuation, I guess, of Commissioner Pintola's application for the Sunset Boulevard project that he's wanting to put into play. So at this, are any of you people going to talk tonight?
Yeah, I just have a few questions about it. That's
Oh, okay. Well, then they need sworn in.
Yeah, if anybody's gonna speak, can I please raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. We're looking for consideration of a use variance for the property at 150 Sunset Boulevard, formerly a public school, to operate as a learning center with business offices. Is that correct, Joe?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Pintola? Okay. We did bring it over to this month because we wanted to discuss some things. And I guess the best part is even though Art's not here tonight, he left questions, which I didn't. I figured he would. Issues to be addressed. Is there anything else I need to do to kick this off, Mike, or are we just more or less?
No, I mean, if you want to ask, we can open up the applicant if he wants to kind of review. I know that we had a hearing last month on this. However, from a procedural standpoint, this is a brand new application. So I would recommend that we reestablish for the record what the applicant is seeking. So I would invite the applicant if he just wants to give the board kind of a brief overview of what you're proposing to do.
Yes, sir.
Just again, for procedural purposes, I know a lot of it's going to be repetitive that everyone was here last time, but this is technically a new hearing, so.
I'm Joe Pintola. Hi, guys. Thanks for showing up. I've been trying to get a rental in this property for 5 months now. I started out asking for office space and I was turned down. So then I went to educational aspect training, and we were turned down last month, kind of with just mixed motions. So now it was suggested to me that we turn it around to like office, general, and mixed learning center. The property is going to be used 8 to 5 daily operation. I don't foresee any weekend usage. I put a lot of money in the building. It was sat empty and everything in the building froze, holes in the roof. The HVAC worked. I was pleasantly surprised. And then I fixed some other things up. And I think I still have a tenant. I haven't talked to him for about a month, but waiting to move in. But I'm looking to go forward on this property, and I'm asking consideration from the board. It'd be a tough call to book anything in this building on the existing codes. I mean, they have to be bent or changed. There's no more schools going to move in. And the only other option is low income housing, and I personally don't want to do that. I don't think the neighborhood does, and I don't think the township does, but it's coded for that. So I'm looking for a little mixed office space, that's all. Any questions, ladies?
What tenant? You said you're waiting, you have one tenant.
The same one, the handicap folks.
Business.
The handicap folks.
Okay. With the office and,
And I'm looking for something else after I get approved, but I can't go searching until I get approved on everything. So they're gonna occupy like 1/3 of the upstairs. And they all meet there and they get their training facilities, they get trained and told where to go and with their proctors, there's one person to every like 4 or 5 handicapped folks. And they go around, they clean City Hall, they clean the fire department, they clean my business, they clean, Canonsburg Police Station and some other places. That's just what they do.
So
That's their little niche.
It's already existing then, it's.
Yes, they're renting off city of Washington right now. They're renting in the city building in the basement and
Is
they
that
need more space.
something comparable to ARC?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know the ARC building moved and I didn't know where they were.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
These people lived there at one time.
Okay,
Is it just for training or is it for other purposes as well? Because you have places like AMI, I think they do that, but they have like therapy sessions and my brother goes
Yeah,
there.
they don't have, they have that in their company, but not this division.
Okay.
This division, them kids are in and out, they're done, by 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And then, they tied in with Steritor Sanitation and, they're gonna store all the supplies there. So they need one whole room just to store the sanitary supplies, like when I bring the place, they bring toilet paper, they bring napkin, they bring soap.
Okay.
Any other questions?
you said you're gonna live in the basement.
I am.
Okay, now is there, are you ever going to be considered like dividing it and say, oh yeah, I
No.
have another tenant over
No.
there? Because that's,
No,
that might sound awful, but that's the only thing I don't want. is-
oh, me neither. I need the space. I'm a hoarder from Mac Auction. I need the space.
Well, Joe, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go down the list. Oh, I'm sorry. So-
No, I was gonna ask you to do that, so go ahead.
Okay. Art, I knew he'd do this. What we're gonna talk about is, and we'll have to have this, the way it's, days of operation per week, per month, per year, it must be set, okay?
I saved it out already.
Okay, I'm just telling you, because we're
Okay.
gonna, number of people on site, maximum, average, we'll need that, okay? And an average.
Okay,
Number of vehicles on site at one time, maximum and average, okay? Does this sound all right so far?
sounds something.
Well,
It sounds like something.
okay.
I can answer all those questions.
Okay, hours of operate, well, it'll be put into print. Hours of operation must be set for weekdays, weekends, and holidays, okay? Signages must be strictly conform to code. Lighting, same, conform to code. And activities outside the building must be described. There should be solely included people arriving, departing, entering, and leaving the building. So I think Art pretty much.
You got the whole song and dance there.
Well, there's reasons for all this, because that way we can always come back if something comes up that isn't kosher. We'll have this will all be in print. What do they say? What's a legal term, Mike? If it isn't in print, it didn't happen. So, you can have a copy of these too, but Art brought that up. Michelle, is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
I had one question.
Sure.
I've seen on here you had 8 to 5, and then on page 4 you had 8 to 6.
I don't know their exact hours, what time they
Okay.
start. They start in the morning. I don't get up that early myself.
So you're talking just during the week and you're gonna be living there in the basement?
Probably not for a year.
Okay, but I mean,
Yeah.
but that's all.
They're gonna work weekends too. They have to like clean my business, not City Hall,
Mhm.
but some of the other businesses they have, but they'll be in and out of there quick. You
Just
know,
to pick
yeah,
up items.
Yeah. It's a big place. And my 2 acres ain't gonna bother anybody. My 20 people aren't gonna bother anybody.
I don't dispute that, Mr. Controller. But we're gonna have it all.
Yeah, but if we don't ask, then we don't know.
Sure.
100%.
I'm here.
But how do you know ahead of time how many folks will be there or how many?
I don't. I know, not my business. I have no idea.
So the kind of, what he's requesting right now is for a use variance. So in the R3 district, the medium, low density residential district in the township, there is a list of permitted uses, conditional uses, special exceptions. office space is not a use set forth as one of those types of uses. So in order to potentially allow for office uses of this building, he would need what's called a use variance, right? Because this use is not permitted in that zoning district. And so he's requesting to have office space there. He has one particular tenant that he's, discussing for, but ultimately that tenant might not be the tenant. That tenant could leave. And also I think prior testimony was that tenant's not going to occupy the entire building at this time anyway. So it would be an office use. If he's saying 8 to 5, 8 to 6, different tenants might have different hours. Right now, he's not asking for a variance from the standards, the performance standards. So everyone in that district would have to, whether it's this particular tenant or a different one, there are performance standards that have to be met no matter what the tenant is. And absent a specific decision by this board or the applicable board at the time, they have to operate within those timeframes. Whether that's with the noise requirements, lighting requirements, parking, all that. So right now, to your point, how is he going to know that? A lot of Art's questions, that's not really for this board to be able to approve at this time. Essentially, if you approve office spaces, the code talks about how many parking spaces you have to have during the workday for that type of use. So if he has that space there and he uses all the available parking spaces for that one tenant, and he wants to bring another tenant in, if he does not have enough parking spaces for that, he would not be able to, have additional tenants there. So to your point, a lot of those questions seem to be premature because we don't know all of the tenants there, but those can come and go, right? What we're being tasked with tonight is that it is an old Patton school. It was previously zoned Patton School, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. The old Patton School, it's zoned as a school. There are uses in the R3. His testimony here today is that it's not going to be able to come. School is not a viable option for it. Some of the other uses here, forestry, oil and gas drilling, home gardening. His testimony is that, but for being able to convert this into an office type space, he does not believe that it is a viable, that building is going to remain vacant. And so he's asking to be able to convert it to an office space. The particulars of that, some of the pertinent questions I think for this board, Art gets at it in general, but how many, you indicated that you have over an acre of parking there.
2 acres
2 acres of parking.
with building.
So what is the actual square footage of the building? I think you had.
It's gonna be 19,000 square feet.
19,000 square feet of potential office space, right? Because the use variances would be allowed the building to have office spaces, right? So what he would have to be able to show is that he would have enough parking for that full amount. If he does not, then he would not be able to put office spaces in the entire building, right? So, so your testimony is that there is 2 acres worth of
There is
parking.
room for 100 cars.
Okay, which goes, and it's more of the property, obviously, a school, right? So this one particular tenant might take up a third of it, or maybe takes up all of it, or maybe only takes up 1/10 of it, right? But ultimately, he would have to, the code has, each use has to come up with a type of, if you look in here, whether it's, for restaurants, I know we're just talking about offices, it talks about how many for staff, based off of square footage, those things. So he would have to comply with that moving forward. And if he uses all of it, he would then either have to figure out, joining property, or he would not be able to continue, filling up
That would
that.
never happen.
But yeah, so that just kind of to answer your questions
So
as
all we're
far as,
approving is what we're talking about.
is a use, well, what
All
he's
I-
requesting approval is for an office space, right? For that use variance, and he's got to prove that he has that this facility, this building, that this property, meets the requirements to satisfy the board, that it should be granted that use variance, but also he's talking about office, and so what I'm hearing based off of his application and on his testimony right now, he has some ideas of who he wants to have there, but he's not asking for any other specific variances or exceptions from the code. So he's gonna have to meet whatever those are, just for an example, performance standards. No operate for noise, no operation or activity shall cause or create noise measured at the property line in excess of the sound levels prescribed below. Between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m., prevailing time 85 decibels.
Yeah.
Between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m., prevailing time 70 decibels. So no matter what that operator office space is, they have to meet those because he's not asking for, to be able to be above that past those time frames. If it turns out he wants to bring in someone there and they're gonna be working in the, past those time periods and there might be an issue, he might have to come back and get additional approvals, whether it's from this board or from, depending on what the requested relief might be. So just to kind of give you a better idea of really what's in front of this board right now, they're not tasked with approving each potential tenant. It's just, is this property able to be granted that use variance to have office space on the property? So the particular about each tenant is premature, honestly. That would be something for when he has those tenants in, but if there are issues that you notice, you would contact the township code officer or zoning officer would come out and check, if there's again, I keep going parking, but, if there's a lot of issues with parking, that would be a thing, or if there's noise questions, or if there's lighting questions, all those things are set forth in the code that he would have to comply with no matter who the tenant was there. If that helps to kind of explain a little bit more what right here, he can't submit an application to have offices there because that's not a permitted use in the township code. So he's gotta come here to say, I would like you to grant this property to allow office use there. Now, each individual particular office use, he's still gonna have to show that he can comply with, the township codes for office uses or for, in general, for that district.
That's why we have him.
You need one.
Do we need to address him living?
That's gonna be the next, that's gonna be a question.
Got it.
Um,
I just want to make sure we address that.
Correct. So obviously, one of the, his request is for office space, but also there's that caveat that he would like to live in the ground floor.
Yes, sir.
So, again, that would be a question. It's not a single family dwelling. I don't believe, I'd have to look at the township code. Is that deemed a single family dwelling? No.
They have a conditional supplemental for,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk about ground floor. It's G.
Well, it's zoned R2, why can't I live there?
It's zone R3.
Well, R3, why can't I live there? Just like the neighbors. Big deal.
Well, the township zoning code, one that says conditional uses by special exception, 245-109, apartments in combination with a business, conversion apartments. That's essentially what you're not a standalone house, or you're not just an apartment complex. You're attempting to have an apartment in combination with a business. So the township zoning code defines that.
Okay, it's not gonna be an apartment. It's gonna be a 4-bedroom mansion.
Okay.
In the basement or the first floor?
you see letter G? What's that?
I think it's G, not.
Yeah, so I mean, G just talks about no more than one conversion apartment shall be permitted in a single dwelling. The minimum.
There's one that talks about the basement.
Okay, dwelling units in basements or accessory garages shall not be permitted, so,
It depends on what floor it's on. If it's in the basement or is it on a main, is it on the first floor or the basement?
The first floor is the basement.
But I mean,
The
it's
school was all elevated. The
Oh.
school was the second level. I'm on the main
it's
floor.
not in the barn, it's not in underground. Oh, wow.
And I'm gonna cut a garage door in and drive my car right in at night.
What do you think, Mike?
I don't think it's not.
Okay, so your testimony is that the proposed dwelling unit is not in the basement of the property.
Well, there is some land up part way, like up to my windowsill. And then there's part that's ground level. Kind of on this, it's not exactly level. but it's
So
not
it's partially
level.
underground,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
I call that
Window high is underground. It's not a basement at all.
Agree. I see Mike's thinking.
Well, again, ultimately, that is a. We even know, is this considered a special exception in this zoning district?
No.
Because it might not even be for this board to decide.
I don't think it's listed as a special exception.
Yeah, I'm looking at special exceptions for the R3. Special
This is
exceptions,
not a, yeah.
special exceptions in the R3, churches, communication antenna, public utility building, schools, temporary use or structure other than construction trailers. So,
That's not-
and then accessory use is none.
Mhm.
So
It wouldn't have to meet those.
no, but the issue is that so I guess I would say he does have to meet those, but he's asking actually for a use variance for not just office space, but also for a conversion of apartment, or apartment in combination with a business.
Is that correct, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think just that throw-in line that personal residence on ground level makes it a dual request.
Well, we can cut that out for now because it's not gonna happen for at least a year. So I need permission to get upstairs and make some money on my investment.
Okay, let's hold the question regarding the apartment for now and just concentrate on the first request as an office, right? So as far as your request of the office, it's your testimony, again, that property cannot be converted to one of the uses set forth in the R3 zoning code as currently standard without a significant cost and even with a significant cost, there's no guarantee that you would be able to make that viable.
Correct.
That's your testimony, okay. And that you are not proposing any structural changes to the footprint of the building,
No, sir.
only interior changes.
No, sir.
And same thing with the parking and the ingress and egress.
There'll be no noticeable changes whatsoever, not even 1%.
So the ingress and egress will remain the same.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as far as that goes, outside of the ingress, egress, do you plan on erecting any signs for the property?
I hadn't thought of it.
If so, that would have to be, again, you would just have to remain in compliance with whatever the applicable.
Sure.
If not, you'd have to seek additional relief possibly.
I'm sure there's a sign ordinance.
Correct. But at this time, you're not requesting any relief as far as that goes. It's your-
We're not advertising a business to the public. We're
Okay.
just supplying a service.
Okay, so
It's your testimony, again, you propose it to be 8 to 5, 8 to 6. Are you stating Monday through Saturday?
It's gonna be open 7 days a week.
That's your request,
Yes.
just so the board's aware of what is being requested. So to that vein, section 245-115 of the Township Code, when dealing with business or professional offices, in the C1 district, we don't have that as an issue, R4, none of that, there's none of it, okay, so. Applications for approval shall be accompanied by a plan showing lot lines, adjacent land uses, entrances, exits, pedestrian ways, structure location, sign placement, utility location, sources, storm drainage, provisions buffering to screen adjacent properties if new construction is proposed. Obviously, a land development, but you're indicating to me and to the board that there's no new construction proposed.
Zero.
And you don't anticipate amending the current drainage or doing any grading work on the property?
Everything's perfect.
Just so, okay. And again, any signs or things of that nature will, you understand you would have.
We'll have to get a permit.
Correct, okay. So one of the requirements is that buffer area B, as described in section 245-171A, shall be provided along all property lines adjoining property in the R3, multiple districts, but the R3. Is it your testimony that you will be able to comply with that requirement?
I'm not sure what that means.
So,
Buffer, there'll be plenty of buffer.
well, the buffer area B is set forth in the township code. So, again, if you can't meet that, you would have to request a variance from that. But as far as I'm making sure, you're not requesting a variance from that. So it's your indication that you believe you'll be able to meet that?
There's no doubt. Can fit 100 cars and on one side,
Buffer
totally
buffer
wooden.
might include screening, it could include, different foliage, plantings, fence lines. Again, I'm not saying we can pull it up, but you will have to be able to meet that.
Whatever. it may be.
Well, that's not gonna happen. Screens will be ugly. It's a neighborhood. I'm not changing the neighborhood, folks. I'm not changing the thing.
But you are adding a use that's not permitted there, so there are additional,
But do you want the building sit empty or you want low rent housing? My next move is to the county. They expressed interest in buying it.
I'm just trying to pull up the buffer areas. Okay, so buffer area B shall contain one row of plantings that shall consist of a mixture of 30% deciduous and 70% evergreen, spaced within the row a minimum of 10 feet apart, measured from the vertical center lines of the adjacent trees. The depth of the buffer area B shall be 25 feet as measured from the property line. That is what the buffer area that would apply to this use.
How about plain land? How about grassy land? Planted grass.
And
And what?
mowed.
It's mowed every week.
That's what I mean, that's what I'm saying, it's
I
mowed.
spent $2,000 on a property this summer.
So what you're proposing to the board is that you are requesting to leave the site existing and to not implement buffer area B.
It's the same as it was before.
So that's a no buffer area B.
No.
Okay.
That's why we have this.
What would be the purpose of the buffer that you're talking about?
Well, I mean, typically, this is a commercial
For noise.
use in a residential area. So the idea would be to provide some screening, a buffer from that use, right?
How about all the diesel buses coming and going every hour? Huh? How about that for a buffer?
I understand where you're coming from. That is what the requirement is, and that's what typically, buffer is designed to break it up and to give a buffer. So, and then you also further testified that no ingress, egress, or internal traffic circulations plan to be changed is what's already
No.
there. No new access points.
No, sir.
Okay. So that's what the code has as far as office is concerned. As far as those, you heard his testimony as far as, no buffer area B being proposed. His testimony that, any site, any signs, things of that nature, noise, operating, would be able to comply with the code. Although, again, this is a residential area. He is proposing to operate 7 days a week. He did hear that, was his request. So I don't know if the board has any specific questions.
I do. I wanted to ask you, do you have headlights or lights out in the parking lot?
We do,
With street lights like in the parking lot there? Are they already there?
same as before.
Same as before, okay. And there's no buffer around that right now, and those lights are shining in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Is that right? You guys live there?
On the playground, I call it the playground side of the school, it does need a light, it's pitch black over there. There used to be something on the side to the left of the dumpster, but I don't know what that light was on the side of the building. That's the only thing. Otherwise, I don't really have an issue with anything, because the grass is always cut, which it never was before. I really can't say much against, I mean.
So you're saying the fact that there's no buffer there is not bothering you because of lights? In fact, you'd rather have more lights there than.
Well, just a light, that's
There
all.
is a
Somewhere.
buffer, there's a total buffer all
I
around the
mean,
building.
there's a big parking lot, there's
You can check that.
grass that all mows, and there's woods, there's really, I can't say anything against it.
Are there codes for lighting, Mike? Is there-
Yeah, there are performance standards that would talk about the lighting. And again, his testimony is that he's not requesting a relief or variance from any of those at this time. So he would have to comply with those lighting requirements. So if there are, I would believe the code has something that talks about parking lots having to be, lit.
Yeah.
And how bright those have to be, those issues, obviously. Do you anticipate storing any items outside of the building? I'll open it up again further to the board, if you want to ask any additional questions of the applicants or even from the
From
residents
the audience?
in the audience.
See, Teresa, my take on that, though, to get more lights out there in the parking lot, that's gonna shine in on your property. So that's why they talk about the buffers with the trees, so you wouldn't
Oh,
see
okay,
all
well,
that.
I don't want to, but I just like looking the way it is. I mean, he's already, like I said, taking care of the grass. Just anything that would shine down into the parking lot would be good, because if I go out to the mailbox, I mean, it is black. But we don't want a street light there by any means. I don't, maybe you do. It should be too much right there, a regular street light, but just some light that would shine even straight down into his lot would be more light than what's there now, that's all. But I understand now what the buffer would be, and I understand that part, but,
That's why the township has the buffer.
Right.
rule.
but I think, I have, no-
But how do you know if you have an opinion on it as residents, if the businesses aren't there yet? Because I would have the same opinion as Teresa. It wouldn't bother me if there wasn't a buffer there, but then once they're in there, what if we would change our minds on that?
So again, if parking areas are proposed to be used during evening hours, lighting shall be provided. Any lighting used to illuminate sidewalks, pedestrian ways, and off-street parking areas shall be designed to reflect the light away from the adjoining premises of any property in the A1, R1, R2, R3, R4 district, and away from any streets or highways. So that's what the code, and the code also talks about the foot candles of the lights, things of that nature. So that is what the code requires. They be that they be adjusted away from that.
Excuse me, Mike, I don't foresee any nighttime use, but if I had nighttime use, I would have to have parking lights. I mean, just safety of the facility and the people.
Correct.
dead silence.
I have no further clarification questions regarding offices. Obviously, we have to address the next one, but I don't know if you wanna, if you have any other additional questions related to the office use.
No, we pretty much discussed that last time and this time.
But procedurally, because of the buffer requirement, which the board would need to do on that.
Yes, I mean, you would ultimately approve it subject to not having to meet that buffer area.
Excuse me, but didn't we say X number of feet of grass is a buffer?
No, there has to, it talks about plantings and things of that nature in the buffer area. What you're proposing, you still have the buffer area, but not with the plantings that are required in the buffer area B. Once again, because this is a commercial use in an R3, there are additional buffer requirements in the code, which you're requesting not to have to meet that, so.
Well, I planned on landscaping the whole facility, but if I have to put up a few bushes, no, that's not a problem.
Buffer area B shall contain one row of plantings that shall consist of a mixture of 30% deciduous, 70% evergreen, spaced within the row a minimum of 10 feet apart, measured from the vertical center lines of adjacent trees. The depth of the buffer area B shall be 25 feet, as measured from the property line. So basically what buffer area B is going to require is a row of plantings, at least 70% evergreen. And 30% deciduous, 10 feet apart, is what you, again.
But if you would look at that property, how would you know where that line should be? You said it's, 50 per,
Well,
You
what
mentioned-
line?
25 feet.
25 feet as measured from the property line, so.
Yeah.
They would measure, you have to measure it from the property line.
The playground covers 50% of the property. The two driveways take care of another 20%. And then there's woods that take care of 60%. So we're only talking about 25 to 30% opening. You guys all know that.
And
If
then
you look at
too,
the
if it was,
blueprint.
if that is up, do we really not want to see what's going on in there at night? I don't know that we want to.
It's all
If you-
private over there, 2 entrances, it's all private. It's set up perfect.
No, I'm
I don't see
saying,
why-
if there is a buffer there, I might not be able to see what's
You're
going on.
not
over
gonna
there.
see
I wouldn't
anything.
like that. I would want to know what's going on over there. If someone's over there that's not supposed to be over there.
If you guys look at the pictures, there's a driveway on each end. The whole school and the other side is all playground. And it's all fenced. There's only like 35 feet. And I might add, with my neighbor's mailboxes on my property.
Yeah. Well, the thing of it is, we've got stuff coming.
Those trees that are on the different property, is that an adjacent property?
We're looking at some
Well, it's just
pictures
like
here.
Good.
Looks like to the left of the building, there's
Almost looks
trees.
like woods.
Yeah.
Woods.
Are those on your on that property? Is that the neighboring,
It's not my property.
that's adjacent property?
That's the line.
Where are they talking about, Joe?
The woods
Oh.
on the lower side.
Okay.
They run the whole length of my property.
We kind of like watching the deer over there. We like that. I don't know.
I do too.
Yeah.
What's never going away, that lady offered to sell that property to me. I said, I have no desire to buy your wooded hillside.
So do you own just to the tree line, Joe?
Yes.
Okay.
You guys have any other questions for
I see
any
you
office?
looking at the pictures.
Yeah, again, I'm not disagreeing that there's not a setback. But that doesn't necessarily meet the buffer, so that's up to, that's up to the board for your consideration. I don't have a vote, I'm just trying to clarify that
Yes, sir.
ultimately whatever is approved
You're doing a
or
good job.
denied, that it is clear what you're permitted to do or not do, so that there's no questions down the road. That's simply
It's all
what
clear.
I was
Clear,
attempting to
Joe.
do there. So he's provided you with his rationale for not proposing to meet the buffer area B for the property. You've heard from a couple of the residents. I don't know if anyone with the administrative staff has any comment, feedback. So,
My lack of legal expertise, put all this verbiage into a motion, so that's what I need.
well, that's for the office. Do you guys want to vote on the office right now, or would you like to also consider the dwelling apartment at this time as well and consider them in conjunction or one each?
What's your time frame
Oh,
for?
it's gonna be over a year. I still got, I'm living in two places now. I got to get one.
Michelle, what do you think?
So in order to approve it as for the, I forget the term.
Usage.
Yeah, is that also part of the?
Yes, yeah, because that's a use that he references also my personal residence on ground level.
Okay.
And so if you look at the R3 zoning code, that is not, an apartment.
I'm gonna butt in, sorry, one more time. I would like to address the whole thing because I'm constantly bringing stuff there. I mean, I have the one giant room is like 1/3 filled with Mac auction stuff. And I want to remodel the basement of my banquet facility, and I need to pull all this stuff out and move it somewhere. It's the reason I love the place, store all my junk. So if we could approve both,
Yeah,
it's
so
not gonna
again,
come into play.
The apartment in combination with a business is not a defined use in the R3, so that would also be a use variance under consideration for the board. So you heard the testimony related to the office aspect of it. We heard some of the testimony related to the apartment building or the apartment in combination with the business. So let's touch on that a little bit further. Will the apartment do you know the proposed square footage of the apartment?
6,000.
Wow. That's a big one.
It sounded to me like you wanted to use some of that for storage area though, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Gonna be a drive-in garage and
So each dwelling unit shall contain not less than one private bathroom and 2 habitable rooms. Will you be able to
we
meet that
have trouble with that
requirement?
already.
Okay. For apartments in combination with businesses, separate parking spaces shall be provided for each use, and a separate entrance shall be provided for the apartment that does not require passing through any area devoted to the business.
We have 3 separate entrances and multiple parking.
Okay, so you'll be able to set aside
Yes, sir.
and provide, you'll be able to meet that requirement. You will also be required to provide certification that on-site sewage disposal facilities or public sewers are adequate to serve the anticipated demands. That's obviously.
Had it pre-checked. It's already been scoped.
Perfect. Each dwelling unit will obviously have to comply with the current requirements of the UCC. So when you get to that point, you're obviously going to require building permits and things of that nature that you have to comply with.
That doesn't need any building, but
And again, it's your testimony that the dwelling unit is not in the basement or, the accessory garages shall not be permitted. So if the board were to grant this use, you're still gonna have to come back and get the approval, the building permit and the occupancy permit. That will have to be reviewed by the township zoning officer at that time to ensure that it's not in what they consider a basement. So, just so you're aware.
What's a basement mean? I don't have to go down any steps. There's no steps, it's ground level.
Okay. There shall be no limit on the number of apartments in combination with business, provided the combined lot area for all uses are met. All business uses 21,780 square feet. Each apartment in combination with business, 4,000 square feet per unit. 2 off-street parking spaces shall be provided for each dwelling unit. So again, it's your testimony that you'll be able to meet
Yes, sir.
square footage, the parking requirements, those, that issue. I don't have, that's what the code sets forth on that. I don't know if anyone has additional
So he
questions.
was able to meet all of them?
It's his testimony that he will be, obviously, the construction code and on-like sewer, when he goes and actually does the building, he's got to come back to the township and go through those procedures. and
It's
prove
the
that.
same sewage as,
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just requiring you will
well,
have
it
to.
sounded like it was different. It's all the same sewage system. Actually, there's two main lines going to both ends of the street.
Correct.
That
It's
does
just,
not
what
do
it's saying is
very well.
that you have to, when it comes time to get the approval, and when I'm talking about the approval, whether it's an occupancy permit, whatever those specific ones, there shall be submitted that the on-site sewage disposal facilities, or public sewage are adequate to serve the anticipated demand. At this time, it's a blank shell, right? And so you don't know how many office spaces, what the uses will be upstairs, or on the upper levels. So what I'm just saying is that you will have to prove that. I know you're saying that you're not proposing any changes, and you're likely fine. It's a large
Yeah,
school, I understand,
they're
but
running one big
just so
room.
you're aware that yes, that they're, whatever the demands are at that time, you'll have to prove that it is still up to capacity.
No problem.
And so he's not asking.
Come look.
He's not asking for any variances. It does not sound like from any of the requirements set forth in section 245-109, which deals with apartments in combination with businesses.
You got any more questions? You good?
Do you want to open up to anyone in the audience have questions or comments for the board to consider related to the?
I don't think so, no.
I have some questions that I have.
Does the staff have anything they want the board to be aware of?
I don't think so.
No other questions?
Put it in the verbiage that we could.
So at this, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. So just some housekeeping prior to this. I would recommend the board consider the following exhibits for entrance into the record. We'll go with Exhibit A, will be the application submitted requesting the 2 use variances for the site. Exhibit B will be the advertisement in the Observer Reporter that ran on September 30th and October 7th respectively, as required. Exhibit C will be the posting, the public notice posting conspicuously on the property. Exhibit D will be the written notice to the applicable property owners within 300 feet of the site, along with the addresses listed therein. That'll be Exhibit D. We'll enter Exhibit E into the code will be the applicable, Exhibit E to keep it simple. Exhibit E will be the authorized uses in the R3 district. And then Exhibit F will be collectively the other, actually no, Exhibit F, sorry, will be the section of the code 245-115 dealing with business or professional offices. Exhibit G will be the specific references of the code dealing with apartments in conjunction with a business. That'll be exhibit G. And then F will be collectively the performance standards and various other standards of the township code referenced herein. Those will be collectively exhibit F. I don't have any other exhibits. Were there any other exhibits?
I think he pretty much covered them all, buddy.
So it would be a motion to accept A through H, no, H, sorry, I misspoke. Yeah, the last one should be H, the collective rest of the code exhibits. So A through H to be entered into the record. All in favor? So A through H are in. After that, I would make a motion for the board to close the hearing from any additional testimony.
Yes, we will make that motion. Close it.
And then at this time, if anyone at the board is ready to make a motion on either of the requests. The first one, I guess, would be the use variance. Is anyone interested in making a motion with the office use variance request submitted by the applicant? And again, that could be with any additional conditions. One of the conditions would obviously be not meeting buffer area B. But I don't know if you have any other specific conditions or things you want to attach for the office use this time, other than he's indicating that he is able to comply with all other aspects of the code, and that'll obviously be determined on a case-by-case basis. But I don't know if you have any, his testimony was that it would be open 7 days a week. I don't know if the board has any indication on granting it to that full accept, or if you want to attach some conditions or timelines on the weekend activities. As long as it's compliant with the noise.
Still
and things.
limited to daytime, right? It's not.
It's not limited to day, I don't know, he would have to meet the noise, he would have to meet all the lighting, all the things.
There'd be no nighttime business. It would be 7 days a week though, in and out.
Okay, so we're gonna have two different motions.
Well, yeah, this one motion is for the office use right now. So the proposed motion would be to approve the use variance to operate a business or professional, I guess it'd be a business office on the site that does not meet buffer area B requirements, and then is permitted to operate daily, Monday through Sunday, every day of the week on a daily basis in the daytime hours.
Want to make a motion? I'll make a motion to whatever he just said, okay, because I can't remember all that.
I'll second that.
Second, vote.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
That request passes 3-0. The second request in front of the board would be a use variance to permit the operation of a apartment in the ground floor of the property, on the ground level of the property, subject to the requirements of the township, to all other requirements of the township code. I don't think there's any specific request there related to anything he's stating right now that he cannot meet. Obviously, there'll be additional construction code, other approvals that he'll have to get, but obviously that's that goes with it. So this would just be to approve as an accessory use, the apartment on a property with business.
I make a motion to approve the accessory use of the apartment.
All in favor?
Aye.
That also passes a vote of 3-0. I have nothing else in front of the board to consider at this time. So I guess, you got public comment now, we can move on, just if there's any other items someone wants to comment on, since it's not,
I don't have any.
for the public.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll be a good neighbor, that's all I can say.
Joe,
All my properties are up to snuff and looking good.
I've never had anything good business dealings with you, so I don't expect less. Okay. All right.
Before we need to look at.
Oh, that's right.
The November meeting scheduled as of right now is on Veterans Day.
On the 11th, Monday. That's our meeting day.
It doesn't have to be on Wednesday, but does it have to be a change of meeting? We just have to advertise.
We just had a second
Yeah.
Monday, but we can
Yeah.
vary from that. I don't have a trouble with the Tuesday.
Okay, I just wanted to check before it changed to,
What, do you have a proposed date to change it to?
just that Tuesday the 12th, does that work?
Tuesday the 12th, I don't have, I know I got that open. Anything else?
Double check, make sure it was available.
Yeah. Oh, you can let us know if there's any.
I'm afraid of since you're grabbing you all here.
Yeah,
and then
that's
it's
true,
hard to send
that's good.
emails back and forth.
That's good. Set her up.
You have the 12th, doesn't it? So when
Get
you,
that-
get the call from me.
Yeah,
You good?
we have
Yeah,
North
good, yeah.
Franklin, that's at 5:30, so, we'll be able to, if I have to go to North Franklin, I'll have Sarah from my office.
Okay.
We don't even, do we anticipate, do we even know if it's-
Yeah, I think it's gonna be submitted for sign variance.
Okay, okay, yeah, we'll make it work.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else? This meeting's adjourned.